Good evening. What is the fate of Auckland student Hamid Soodin, kidnapped in Iraq? We talked to an Al-Qaeda expert about his chances. Plus, one man's 70-year love affair with a red ball and some stumps.
G'day Ken, how you going?
I'm well, thank you, Dan.
Daniel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Also, serving up Christmas dinner summer style. And we're in London live with the Kiwi who made headlines at Elton John's wedding. It's nearly a month since Auckland student Hamid Soodin and 3 other human rights workers were kidnapped in Baghdad. And it's now 12 days since the deadline passed for the prisoner exchange, which would have seen them released. The Iraqi prisoners are still being held, and so is Hamid Soodin and his friends. His family is in limbo. There is no word on their condition. No one seems to know if they are dead or alive. Frank Gardner is the BBC's security correspondent and a leading Al-Qaeda expert. And he talked with Lisa Owen in London about the group's likely fate.
The group that has taken them must realise by now that they have made a mistake. These people are seen by most of the Arab and Muslim world as friends of Iraq and friends of Muslims and Arabs generally. So this is, I think, a massive miscalculation by whoever has seized them. Okay, they've made their demands. They want the release of all prisoners from Iraq. That's never going to happen. So I would imagine that they are being advised now by other groups to either release them or pass them on.
Can we expect more mercy for someone who is not from one of the so-called warring countries?
Possibly, yes. It all depends on the motives and the kind of people who are holding them. This group that has released the video and has made its demand, the Swords of Truth or Swords of Righteousness, were unheard of. They don't seem to be an Al-Qaeda group, so therefore not quite so bloodthirsty. They've made demands. New Zealand is seen as a country that is allied to the US in the war on terror, but with obviously a much lower profile than Australia. People will be trying to find some kind of face-saving way here. Now, possibly the release of some Iraqi prisoners could provide that get-out clause. That it might allow the hostage takers to say, you see, we've achieved something. We've forced them to release people, even if those releases were going to take place anyhow.
Tell us about this group. I mean, when they came to light, you know, that they'd taken these hostages, I think one of the first reactions from people, well, who are they? What do you know about this group? I mean, who are they?
It's just a name. This name, Swords of Righteousness, or Sayf al-Haq, as they call themselves, they were not known before. They're one of the many groups that have sprung up. They don't appear to be jihadi extremists, although they have threatened to execute the hostages. Their demands appear to be political. If you look at the statistics, over the last 2 years since the kidnappings began, since early 2004, there have been over 200 foreigners, non-Iraqis, kidnapped. Over 50 of those have been executed, but most of them have not been, and many of them have been released. So there are still grounds for optimism here. It's a complete own goal, taking these people. It would be an even worse own goal to execute them. Now, I think the biggest risk is that the group panics and thinks, oh my God, we've blundered here. What do we do with these people? The longer we hold on to them, the higher the risk that we're going to be caught by the Iraqi government forces or by the Americans. We better just dispose of them. That's the biggest risk, I think.
So this is basically an excruciating waiting game for everyone involved.
It's a waiting game. Now, there are some people I've spoken to who are very pessimistic, who are saying, look, the fact that we haven't heard anything doesn't look good. It's possible they've already been executed and disposed of, as it were. But the fact that no bodies have been found, usually what happens is that when hostages are kidnapped in Iraq, it's on average a 9-day turnaround between the snatch and the resolution of it, either the release or the dumping of a body. And usually the first that we know of an execution is either the release of a statement on the internet announcing that they've executed somebody, and then the release of a video, and then a mutilated or decapitated body is found dumped outside a house somewhere. That hasn't happened. We've had no statement on the video. There's been on the internet since the original demands and the extension. There's been silence. So it could go either way.
Now, Frank Gardner was shot and wounded by Muslim extremists in Saudi Arabia last year. His cameraman was killed. Meanwhile, sadly, Hamit's family have little choice but to continue their vigil by the phone in Auckland until his fate is known, and of course, we wish them well. Now, what is it about us? You know, anywhere you go in the world, if there's something going on, you can bet your bottom dollar a New Zealander will pop up somewhere. So it shouldn't have come as any surprise that at the Windsor civil ceremony of Sir Elton John and his partner David Furnish, that a Kiwi should make the headlines. But that's exactly what happened to Philippa Marshall, formerly of Napier, who turned up in tiara and heels and met the happy couple. Her and a friend presented Elton with a cake before nipping back to the crowd. Now, we've dragged her out of bed to give us her thoughts on their day and what they had to say with it. You see her there now. There, very few people were called out. This was quite a special thing. And we have now in our studio there in London, Philippa Marshall. Philippa, I mean, you pulled one out of the box today.
I definitely did. I actually work for an ice cream company that's based around the corner. Our head office is there. So we thought it might be a kind of a fun thing to do to make them an ice cream wedding cake. And I think plan A was always that we'd hand it over to them, but we never really thought plan A would happen. So we'd already started telling people that they could come round to the shop and have a slice of cake when it was all over. So it was a complete shock about what happened.
And where's the tiara?
It's back on my desk in the office.
I mean, were you
And
really
it comes out for special occasions.
Were you really surprised? I mean, you know, you turned up there, I mean, dressed for the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely blown away. I mean, we'd seen the Civil Partnerships Act came through in Scotland the day before, so there'd been a lot of protesters who were against the civil partnerships in Belfast the day before. So when we saw that news coverage, we thought, well, there's definitely an opportunity here for us to show our support for Elton and maybe get a few plugs for our ice cream as well. So I think we were really blown away by just how touched Elton John was, and I think he saw it for what it was, because we'd been in touch with the Elton John's AIDS Foundation. We were raising money for the foundation in the shop all day, and they'd sort of said to us that Elton was really worried about protesters turning up to hijack his wedding. So I think when he saw us with the cake and really sort of standing up for what we think is an incredible bit of legislation, I think he really felt genuinely touched.
What did he say to you when they came over?
Well, in fact, he actually said, what have you done here? And I said, well, we've made a cake out of apple-flavoured Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and we've named it Appley Ever After. And he thought that was quite funny. And he also said, I'm just really touched that you've gone to all this effort, and you look great, so thanks very much.
He didn't slip you an invite for the aftermatch?
No, he didn't. I did say, have a great time tonight. So the room was there for him to invite me to the reception. But I don't know if you saw the news coverage, but I think most of the guests were in traffic jams for about 4 hours last night. So perhaps it was just as well that he didn't invite me.
Well, I hope the cake isn't melting in the back of his roller.
I know. We've got visions of Victoria Beckham munching on it. Who knows?
I mean, this was a big, it was a huge event over there, wasn't it? I mean, what was the crowd like, as you said?
Yeah, no, it was massive. Well, the incredible thing is that they had so much security there that we never thought we were going to get through the barricades. And as it happened, the police that were doing the security were really good sports. They'd already taken photos of us with the cake and filmed us and joked around that we were going to be on Crime Watch later on that evening. But they actually did a stand in front of the barricades, and that's how David Furnish saw us. He nudged Elton and pointed over, and then they beckoned us over. And then we sort of chatted to them and handed over the cake. So I think the police were really good about it, but we were basically 50 metres back from where they exited the Guildhall. So that's why I think it made such an impact and made headlines all around the world.
Well, and you've made headlines around the world, of course, as well. Before you go, anyone you want to say Merry Christmas to over here, Philippa?
Yes, please. Merry Christmas, Mum and Dad, Joe, Lou and Madison. Have a lovely Christmas. I wish I could be there. All
right, well, keep an eye out for when you're next turning up with a cake. Philippa, well done. Cheers.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Well, we've had loads of emails about the Scrooges in your lives, and tonight, if yours is the Scroogiest, you'll win Terry. This is Terry over here. Terry the turkey. Now, here are a couple that have come in. From Glenda. Now, she tells us that her younger brother, who was 25 and working at the time, gave his niece and nephew 1, individually wrapped Chupa Chup lollipop from a large tin his fiancée had been given. Also, Sonia Kirk from Upper Hutt admits to being the Scrooge. She tells us her mum asked her for a book for Christmas, so she went and borrowed one from the library, figuring she'd only read it once anyway. Well, still to come, we have fun with meat and give you the opportunity to learn some new tricks.
Go off the front foot and keep that elbow.
And one man's 70-year love affair with a red ball and some stumps.
There's the record break for Hadley.
You can have a lifelong love affair with many things. A woman, a cause, perhaps the odd tipple. For 78-year-old Ken Worthington, it's our summer game, cricket. Ken fell in love with the sport back in the 30s, and since then, he's rejoiced at watching New Zealand emerge from the fringes to become a solid cricketing nation. Ken's hardly missed a match at Eden Park over the last 70 years. Now he's in the running for the New Zealand Cricket's Fan of the Year. And as Brian Seymour discovered, he'll be tough to beat.
Handsome. 6 runs, and what a way to get his 50.
It starts way back in 1933, and here we are in 1905, at least 2005.
Talking about good strikes, there's another one from Nathan Astle. Pretty close and given.
And welcome back. The weather's clearing at Eden Park. Conditions are good for this clash between Ken's team, Auckland, and Northern Districts, captained by Ken's favourite cricketer.
G'day Ken, how you going?
I'm well, thank you, Daniel.
Daniel, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I hear you've come out here to support us.
Well,
NB or Auckland?
I didn't think that was the idea, but never mind. We will support you all the same.
I started playing cricket when I was about 9 or 10. Just followed my older brother into it. It's good stuff.
Ken's 10-year-old grandson, Nicholas, is getting into it too.
What's your name? Nick. Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Is there any advice you can give a young opening batsman?
Well, I think any advice I give a young opening batsman you should steer clear of, so I'm probably not the one to ask. There's a few others floating around here.
What's your name?
Nick.
Nick, how are you? I'm, you have 5 guesses to guess who I am.
Liv.
Oh, okay, great.
You never saw Martin Crowe go out and get a duck. It was always a good score.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very consistent.
So, I hope for a lot of respect for Glenn Turner as well.
Yes, yes. John Reid.
Who's your
yes.
favourite cricketer? Who's it? Is that why you're wearing a red top from Canterbury?
No.
Now, Cairns isn't playing here today, so Nicholas bails up fellow Black Caps, the Marshall brothers, for a chat and an autograph. And during a final warm-up, he shows them how it's done.
I think it's a fantastic game. You've got to have a very good mind to play international cricket.
Martin Crowe, absolutely brilliant.
You're not keeping your elbow up. You're going like that, okay?
Yeah, no.
Go off the front foot and keep that elbow high.
Yeah.
All right?
That's good advice, formed over 7 decades of devotion.
You know, I can go back to days when New Zealand made 26 against the MCC.
Oh, ouch.
Now, you know, we don't, admittedly we've had 1 or 2 of those recently, but generally speaking, I think New Zealand cricket performs extremely well considering our player base.
Who's your favourite player of all time that you've seen?
Of all time?
Yeah, that you've seen?
Probably Sir Richard Hadley.
There's the record break for Hadley.
He was a fantastic bowler. He really was. But Martin Crowe, to me, was a very, very good batsman.
And again, he's given himself room and smashed it. Martin Crowe here is on a roll.
Oh, what a joy.
Another favourite was New Zealand Vice-Captain Merv Wallace.
One of the country's leading batsmen.
Wallace became our first official coach and led New Zealand to its first Test victory against the West Indies in 1956.
But this Test match has brought new interest and enthusiasm to cricket in New Zealand.
It certainly did for Ken. Since 1934, he's hardly missed an international match at Eden Park. seeing the crowds dwindle as television took hold. Is it better being there? Is it different?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Why?
There's no question about it.
Why?
There's an atmosphere, even though there may not be many people there, there's somehow an atmosphere at a game that you don't get on television.
Simons. The danger man is gone.
Do you ever regret not being able to step out there and mix it with the best?
For sure. You know, I made the mistake of not carrying on from school and taking myself on a big holiday instead. And it always has bugged me to some degree. But having said that, I'm not sure that I'd ever been more than a club cricketer. You've got to be, you know, you've got to be somebody special to make an international team.
Tremendous power.
Oh, hello! Chris Cairns has now hit more sixes in Test match cricket than any man in the history of the game.
Now, if you reckon you're a bigger cricket freak than Ken, you can nominate yourself or anybody for the Cricket Fan of the Year. For details, just go to the website tvnz.co.nz, the keyword close-up. Right, back to our quest for the biggest Scrooge of Christmas. Here's another couple of your experiences. Glenys Kirkwood tells us her husband gave her a card with an IOU for 5 years in it. Also, Colleen Wright says, one Christmas, my mother gave my husband used shoelaces from my dad's old shoes after he had died that year. Still to come, we're heading into the meaty end of the show, what to do with those cuts of ham, chicken or beef for Christmas Day. And we'll have the winner of Terry the Turkey here. Well, if you're organised, the only thing left to sort out for Christmas is the meat. No doubt a ham, a turkey, maybe roast beef. Funny thing is, many of us cook it up as if we're knee-deep in snow and in need of something hearty and warming. So we decided to have some fun with meat, chucking away the roasting pan and sending Connie Buchanan out to find out how to serve up the flesh summer style.
For most New Zealand families, having a Merry Christmas usually means having a meaty Christmas. Whether it used to oink, moo or gobble, Christmas Day for most of us means a large hunk of animal flesh at some point in the day. So in order to turn all this raw flesh into something a little bit more flash, we thought we'd come here to Citron, have a talk with the chef Rex Morgan and see if he can give us some tips on how to make it a little bit more tasty than it's currently looking. Bought you some meat, Rex.
Wonderful.
Right, I hope you've got some good ideas for all of this. It's looking pretty different.
Christmas is a summery time. It's nice and warm, so we'll probably do something like a nice little beef salad with that. And I'll show how to bone out a turkey, which makes it easier when you go to cut it, because you just cut it straight through, no bones, things like that. And with the ham, we might just do a nice little something with a bit of melon salsa. The beef salad, yeah, it's just nice and fresh.
Like a giant tentacle.
And we've got a little fish sauce, a little honey, a little soy sauce, some sesame oil, and let the beef sit in it overnight.
24 hours just passed.
Exactly. Just gets a nice zingy flavour, a little bit of lime juice, chopped chilli, stuff like that in there.
Slice into the pig.
Classically, I guess they used to score it like this, but we're not going to do that.
No pineapple on sticks for us.
Not today. Actually, yours is a nicer size. We'll use yours.
All right. Mine's better. You know, it's got gooey stuff in it.
Chestnuts and things like that aren't really around this time of year yet. Everyone wants to use it because it's the thing. But, you know, but there's a lot of in-season things. Nice beans, tomatoes, stuff like that, cherries.
That's just a quick warming up, isn't it?
Exactly.
Mingling it.
These over here. And this here, I've just got a little sort of melon, apple, apricot sort of salsa with some chopped herbs in it. Ham, tropical, that sort of idea. Yeah. You could even dice pineapple if you really wanted to. And that's pretty much it.
excellent. And then that goes through the window to the hungry producer. Eat up, Pete. You've got 2 more to go.
Here's our beef. Had time to rest. I mean, you can get it quite nice and charry on the outside.
Yep.
There we go. And that's pretty much it. Really nice and simple, easy.
There we go. You haven't finished the last one. Chop, chop. Right. Now this.
All faithful. I'm going to bone it. I think it's worth it if you've got the time.
Yep.
And you just follow the carcass around, really. Exactly the same thing down the other side.
Pull the skin off.
Pull the skin off. There you go.
Like a sock. Look, it's bringing up my veins.
So it'll taste even better.
There we go. Because what are we turning this into?
Oh, pretty much a boneless roast. Might be taking the idea of the whole turkey away, but it's about ease, and I think you end up with a lot more moist product like this too. And also this way, you get the evenness of red and white meat. So you don't have to ask.
Spring.
Normally you'd rest that overnight and let it sort of settle and stuff.
Still hungry, Peter? Dessert.
Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year.
I didn't see that Connie wash her hands before she was dealing with that bird. But anyway, speaking of birds, it's time to say goodbye to Terry the turkey, and we're going to miss him. Terry the turkey, of course, has been in the freezer overnight, just in case you think he's been thawing out here. So he has been frozen, and he is our prize for our Supreme Scrooge story. And we've had a few beauties. To be honest, I thought Colleen Wright's tale of her husband getting the laces from her late father's shoes was going to be hard to beat. Then this came in. Stephanie Box tells us her birthday is also in December, so her husband likes to combine the presents into one. Don't you hate that? He's on the Scrooge watch already because of that, but the clincher was when he went to a clearance sale and saw an excellent present for Stephanie, a wide-mouthed shovel, so she could clean out both the pig pen and the chook shed. What a lucky woman. Now, his logic was one shovel for 2 jobs, one present for 2 occasions. We must also note that a whole $5 was expended on this. Now, you might think that's enough to start divorce proceedings, but Stephanie tells us they've been married for 29 years and the shovel is still going strong. So, because we're not Scrooges on Close Up, we've decided to give away 2 turkeys. One to Colleen Wright and the other to Stephanie Box. And Stephanie, please email us your contact details and we'll have those couriered out to you. Now, tomorrow night for our Christmas special, we'll be where you are and tell you how to survive the next couple of days. That's New Zealand Close Up from me and the turkey.
Bank of New Zealand, principal partner of the New Zealand